So before we dive into the course, I do want you guys to know that this course will not feature a full-on tutorial for the preset browser because I've already done that within the Pigments course. So if that's something that you're interested in checking out, there's a link in the video description below. Now, I do want you to know that up here on the top left-hand side, we can click this, we can go to a new preset, we can save a preset, we can save a preset as, meaning we can do some small adjustments and save it as a new one. We can save as an opening preset in case you want something different to start every time you open up the synth. We can import and export presets as well, resize our window theme, which is pretty basic here. And if we click here on this library here, we have access to all the factory sounds and all the stuff that we have. And we can also heart stuff and things like that. So yeah, I just want to preface this video with that so you guys are informed. So carry on with the video. Hey guys, John here, and welcome back to the Mini Brute V tutorial course. Today we're going to talk about the oscillator section, so this mixer down over here, and then the top section here that says oscillator. So the panel over here in the center left is the oscillator mixer, and here is where we mix our different oscillators. So the first one is going to be up by default. We have a saw wave, we have a square wave, a triangle wave, and then we have noise right over here. And on the left-hand side, we have a sub oscillator, which is down by 1 octave by default, as we can see right up here. And by default, it's also going to be on a square wave. So let's take a listen to those here real quick. Here is the saw wave. Then we have a square wave right here. And we have a triangle wave. And then we have noise. And then we have our sub oscillator. And we can see it is a square wave. We can change it to a sine wave, or we can drop it down an additional octave relative to the ones right here. Inside this section here, we'll find two knobs that adjust the settings for the Ultrasaw. The Ultrasaw can only be heard when the saw oscillator slider is up, so this guy right over here. Now, the Ultrasaw is two copies of the saw wave that are phase shifted and then blended with the original saw wave. So right here we have the Ultrasaw amount. Now, this knob controls the level of the phase shifted saw waves against the original saw wave. Whereas the saw slider in the mixer section, so this guy right over here, controls everything together. And right below that, we have the Ultrasaw rate. Now, this knob controls the speed of the modulation effect. So let's take a listen and see how that sounds. So with both of these knobs at their extremes, it definitely sounds pretty extreme. So next up, we have a knob called the pulse width. Now on the left-hand side, it's going to default to 50%, and on the right-hand side, it's going to be 90%. Now this deals with the pulse width of the square wave, which we need to first bring this into our mixer so we can actually hear it. And let's remove the saw wave. So right now, we just have a square wave. And this 50% means that this square wave over here is going to be 50% of the time in positive territory, and the other 50% is going to be in negative territory. So here we can start adjusting that. So all the way here at 90%, we can see that this top here is going to be 90% of the time inside positive territory, and only 10% of the time it's going to be down here in negative territory. And right below this pulse width control, we have a knob called envelope amount. Now this is really cool because as we turn this, we can tell this knob to be affected by the filter envelope. So for example, let's maybe put this about right here, for example. Let's give this some envelope amount and let's see what happens. So now we can see that this is getting modulated by this filter envelope. So the longer we put this decay, it's going to take more time. And here we can increase a little bit more of that depth. And we can speed it up if we want a little bit less decay here, something like that, so it's kind of quick. So next up, we have the Metalizer. Now, this is a very interesting effect. Now, first off, it only works with the triangle wave, as we can see the triangle wave symbol right up here. And the way this works is that it adds harmonic content to the waveform by folding the peaks of the triangle wave. So let's bring down our saw wave and let's bring up our triangle wave up here in the mixer. And as we start turning this knob, notice the peaks up here start affecting first, and then a little bit later here in the negative territory. Now this gets pretty extreme at the full amount here. And similar to the pulse width, we actually have an envelope control. So maybe we can do something right about here and then give this some envelope amount. Maybe we want this a little bit slower to decay and bring the slider up here. Or maybe we want it really, really fast or really fast decay, so we can bring the slider down here just a little bit more. Okay, so while this oscillator section is rather simple, it's actually very effective that we can make some pretty cool sounds with very little effort. So for example, we have a default patch here with just the saw wave. We can increase this all the way to the top. Maybe dial down the rate just a little bit. And from here, we can start introducing our sub oscillator, which is going to be a square. Then maybe a little bit of square here. And adjust our pulse width. And with our triangle wave, we can actually bring up our metalizer all the way so we can get some really interesting harmonics added to our patch here. And then on the right hand side, we have a little bit of noise that maybe we can sneak in as well. So pretty basic here. Now what we can do is real quick, we can dive into our effects, and then by default we have some delay and reverb, and we can just give a little bit of dry wet to both of these and see how that changes our sound here. So pretty basic patch with just a little bit of effects can actually sound really, really cool. So that was the oscillator section in a nutshell. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense and you learned something. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.